Welcome to the SoLiMi Dreams channel. Gently turn off the lights in your room, slip on your headphones or set the volume just right and close your eyes. I hope sleep finds you peacefully, perhaps even before the story comes to an end. So now, without delay, let me softly begin tonight's story. The Tropical Ward. Rain hammered violently against the windshield of Ethan Bradley's Jeep, obscuring the narrow jungle road ahead. He had been traveling alone through the remote regions of Borneo for days, documenting wildlife for a magazine back in London. Now, lost and nearly out of fuel, the storm forced him to seek shelter. Through the curtain of rain, Ethan spotted faint lights ahead, shimmering weakly through dense tropical foliage. Relieved, he drove toward them, hoping to find refuge. As he neared, he could make out a battered sign illuminated dimly in the headlights. St. Lucia Tropical Hospital. An abandoned-looking gate hung loosely, creaking in the storm. Beyond lay a sprawling, colonial-style hospital, its whitewashed walls stained by years of tropical moisture. Moss and ivy climbed aggressively, reclaiming the structure piece by piece. With no other options, Ethan parked beneath a swaying palm and sprinted toward the dimly lit entrance. As he stepped inside, the smell hit him, antiseptic masked poorly by mildew and something else, something metallic and unsettlingly sweet. At the reception desk, a frail old man glanced up. His watery eyes widened slightly in surprise. "You lost?" the man asked, voice raspy and weak. "Caught in the storm," Ethan said, panting. "Could I stay the night?" The receptionist hesitated, eyes flicking nervously down a shadowy corridor, before nodding slowly. "Only tonight. You must leave at sunrise. Understand?" Ethan nodded uneasily, sensing something beneath the surface of the man's words. "Thank you." Ethan settled into a small, humid room on the second floor, walls peeling from years of neglect. Rain continued relentlessly, leaking steadily through cracks above. Exhausted, Ethan lay down, sleep quickly overtaking him. He awoke suddenly hours later, heart pounding. A faint whisper had stirred him, a voice drifting softly from somewhere nearby. He sat upright, listening intently. The voice was weak, pleading, calling for help. Curiosity tugged at Ethan. Stepping quietly into the dark corridor, he followed the whispers down shadowy halls dimly illuminated by flickering bulbs. Soon he found himself standing before the entrance of the tropical disease ward. Rusted bars separated him from the patients beyond. Peering through, Ethan saw rows of beds lined up neatly. Patients lying motionless beneath stained sheets. The voice continued, whispering faintly, desperately. "Hello," Ethan called softly. "Are you okay?" Suddenly, one of the figures sat upright, jolting Ethan's heart violently. A pale, emaciated woman stared directly at him, eyes sunken, skin nearly translucent under dim lights. "Leave, now," she croaked weakly, "before they come for you." "Who?" Ethan whispered urgently. "What's happening here?" Footsteps echoed from down the hall. Ethan quickly ducked behind a corner as a nurse emerged, face obscured by a surgical mask. He watched silently, shocked as the nurse approached the woman's bed, injecting something into her arm. The woman immediately fell silent, collapsing lifelessly onto her pillow. Horrified, Ethan crept back to his room, heart racing. At sunrise, Ethan intended to leave, but couldn't shake what he had witnessed. Driven by a desperate curiosity, he quietly began exploring. He moved unnoticed into abandoned sections of the hospital, discovering offices strewn with dusty files. Sorting hastily through the yellow documents, Ethan uncovered horrifying truths. St. Lucia Hospital had officially closed decades earlier after a devastating outbreak of a rare tropical disease. Yet, hidden pages indicated disturbing experiments had continued secretly, unknown to the outside world. Patients had been deliberately infected, observed, documented. The hospital itself became a living laboratory, patients confined indefinitely, their agony studied in secret. Ethan recoiled in horror, dropping the files. Footsteps approached suddenly. He barely had time to hide beneath a desk as two figures entered, a doctor and nurse, faces hidden behind surgical masks. "The outsider saw something last night," the doctor hissed quietly. "We must deal with him swiftly." Ethan's blood ran cold. They knew. He held his breath as they left quickly. Now trapped and hunted, he had no choice but to escape. Night returned quickly, the tropical darkness oppressive. Ethan carefully navigated dark hallways, avoiding patrols. Approaching the lobby cautiously, his heart stopped. At the entrance stood several figures, patients, skin grotesquely blistered, eyes vacant yet disturbingly aware, forming a silent barricade. Behind them stood doctors and nurses, watching coldly. "You shouldn't have come here," the receptionist's voice rasped softly from behind him. Ethan spun around sharply. The old man smiled weakly, eyes haunted. "No one ever leaves." Ethan bolted, heart thundering. Sprinting upstairs, he ducked into the tropical ward, desperately seeking another exit. Inside, patients stirred restlessly, murmuring in agony. Suddenly, a familiar whisper called him weakly. The pale woman he'd seen before reached for him, trembling fingers clutching desperately. "You must help us. Stop them," she begged. "End our suffering." "How?" Ethan asked desperately. Fire, she whispered weakly, eyes pleading. It must burn. Footsteps pounded toward them. Ethan had no choice. Grabbing alcohol bottles scattered around, he spilled their contents, igniting them hastily. Flames surged violently, spreading quickly through curtains and bed sheets. Patients remained strangely silent, accepting flames gratefully as salvation. Ethan fled the ward, coughing, blinded by smoke. The hospital erupted into chaos. Flames roared, consuming walls rapidly. Ethan sprinted desperately toward freedom, coughing violently. Suddenly, the doctor confronted him amidst swirling smoke, eyes blazing furiously behind his mask. "You destroyed years of work," he screamed, voice distorted by rage. "You tortured innocent people," Ethan shouted back defiantly. The doctor lunged violently. Ethan dodged narrowly, fighting desperately. He tore away the mask, recoiling in horror. Beneath lay skin twisted grotesquely, face blistered and inhuman, infected, monstrous. "You see now," the doctor rasped, voice distorted. "I am their greatest achievement and curse. Eternal infection, eternal agony." He lunged again, attacking furiously. Ethan, driven by survival, fought back desperately, eventually forcing the doctor backward into roaring flames. Screaming, the figure vanished in fire. Gasping for breath, Ethan stumbled into the stormy night, collapsing onto wet grass. Behind him, the hospital burned violently, consumed by flames, smoke billowing into tropical darkness. Days later, authorities arrived, finding Ethan dehydrated, delirious. Rescued, he recounted his horrific tale, though no evidence remained. Officials found only ruins, charred bones, and unanswered mysteries. Returning home, Ethan was haunted nightly by faces of suffering patients, unable to forget their agony. Yet, hidden beneath his trauma was something else. Fearful knowledge that perhaps the infection hadn't died within those flames. Perhaps it lived, lurking silently within him, awaiting its moment to emerge again, infecting another tropical ward, another unwary traveler, forever waiting, forever contagious, forever hungry. I hope you've already drifted off into a peaceful sleep. If not, I truly hope the upcoming stories on my channel will help you get there. If you enjoyed this one, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'd be so happy if you liked and shared this video with your friends. It means a lot and gives me the encouragement to keep creating more stories like this.